up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite film directors and the deeper meaning within their films. And for those of us who are listening on Wednesday, we are recording on a Tuesday, meaning it's Election Tuesday, meaning I just voted. And RB3 skipped out on it.
Wait, stop it.
And for that reason, guys, we're doing an episode on House of Cards. The reason why we decided to do this, guys, is because
I voted.
It's because RB3 didn't vote. No, it's because it's Election Tuesday, and I thought, what's a cool political type show or director? We were thinking of Michael Mann.
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore, I'm sorry. And we landed on House of Cards based off RB3's suggestion because we found out that we're both fans of the show. I didn't know you were a fan as well. Like, I know you were a little bit of a fan, but I didn't know you were like, kept up and you would watch the show.
Well, we talked about it a lot back
I remember in the Schmoes,
yeah.
I do remember that, but I thought you kind of gave up on it. But
nah, I was still there. You're
still there,
as soon
man.
as it popped up on the notification feed, I was like, all right, whatever. I'll give
doing
this
it.
one a shot.
And
that's falling off for me. It's been falling off for me in quality, man.
Yeah, for me, I think it's great all the way around, but that's just my personal take on it. But I'm excited to get into it, guys. We're going to get into the deeper meaning within the show. We're going to get into kind of the thoughts of the creator of the show. We're going to get into what the show has had to say about our political system now and our political system now, as far as what we're dealing with currently in the political atmosphere of the United States of America. But before we do all that, we're going to read your comments from last week's episode where I wasn't here, RB3.
Oh.
I was not available, and you guys took over the studio.
My man, Cade Hughes being nice.
Cade came in. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet Cade. I still want to meet Cade. I think he seems like a really nice guy.
He's cool, yeah.
A bunch of youngins coming in here and taking over the freaking podcast. My podcast. No, I'm kidding.
He sat in your seat, bro.
I know. He sat in my seat, man. I'm offended.
Disrespect.
We are going to read your comments from last week's episode, which was on Judd Apatow, which is a director that Cade is very much fond of.
Yeah, it's his favorite director.
And comment section, not a lot of comments, but I'm going to find them. Harry Weisbecker says, thanks, gents.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Gunslinger 199 says, not a comedy guy, so I don't really have an opinion on Judd Apatow. That's cool. That's all right.
Thank you, Gunslinger 199.
Moses Sembatike
nice
says, I saw Widows at the London Film Festival. You guys are in for a treat.
Yes. Oh,
Dude,
I heard Widows.
I'm pumped for Widows. Man. I can't lie, man. For me, it's Creed 2 and Widows. As far as like my most hyped movies of the rest of the year.
Kay said Creed 2 is also his most anticipated for the rest of the year. I said Widows is mine.
Those two, man.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I'm like, every time I see that Widows poster, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that one I'm seeing literally. I don't care what's happening that day. I don't care if like my sister's giving birth. It doesn't matter. My sister's not giving birth. She's not pregnant. Anything. But if that day a movie comes out, no matter what's happening, nothing stops me from seeing it. Steve McQueen, Viola Davis, Liam Neeson, Colin Farrell, Michelle Rodriguez. I'm with it. But
Daniel Kaluuya,
homie
from
Brian Tyree Henry, or is it
Tyree Henry? I think
it's one of those.
Yeah,
maybe I flipped it around. But entire cast. But I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm a little hesitant about Creed 2 though.
Really?
I'm really hesitant.
I'm excited, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I didn't. Rocky 4 is my least favorite Rocky film.
Yeah,
ever.
but you like Creed.
I love Creed.
Okay.
But then I also don't. I think them doing the whole thing of like, oh, Drago's like son is gonna be fighting. Like to me, that's the stupidest shit you ever like.
That's true. That very much seemed like it came straight from Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, I'm
He's
like, damn.
What if his son fights his son?
It's like, get over it. Just make the movie. Like, why make it this whole, living up to the legendary Rocky 4? Like, what the? Have you tried watching Rocky 4 in today's age? Like, Rocky 4 is a terrible movie. I'm sorry.
I don't
it's
agree with
trash.
That. I can't get behind
Rocky
you, man.
4 is trash.
No,
I'm sorry.
Rocky 5 is like
Rocky 5 is better than Rocky 4.
Ooh, that's
Rocky 4.
Come on, man.
Rocky 4 is 50% montage. Ace, do you want to watch a movie that's 50% montage?
Yeah. That's what I just saw with Bohemian Rhapsody. Ooh. I'm just kidding, guys. We're all kind of kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is just a lot.
A lot of montages?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I heard the effects are pretty bad, too.
Yeah, they weren't great, but it's never effects never really bother me unless it's like Justice League.
How are you in the movie?
I'm great. I'm a fantastic actor in that movie. I'm tiny. I'm dancing around the stage all flamboyantly. I got a fun mustache. Yeah, it's interesting because it's just such an interesting, weird-looking guy that I get compared to. Why can't I get compared to like a stud? I don't know.
You got Bruno Mars before the
Bruno Mars looks like a guy who like. Bro, I'm gonna stop myself. He looks like a coked up Filipino drug dealer who like side deals with some other stuff. He's not a good looking guy.
Oh man,
he's got a great voice. He's a great singer, but oh my God, is that boy
Bruno
ugly?
Mars like that?
But boys, he's ugly, bro. He's not a good looking guy. When have you ever heard someone say, "Oh, Bruno Mars, man. Oh yeah, he's a good looking guy."
Man, the ladies.
You hear that
him,
from
man.
Chris Evans. You hear that about. Like freaking Thor, you hear that about like like those guys are good looking guys, not Bruno Mars and Rami Malek.
Man, I think both Rami Malek and Bruno Mars are handsome young men.
I disagree.
Hey man, hope maybe Bruno Mars and maybe Bruno Mars and Ace and Rami Malek will all team up for a triple threat like movie extravaganza.
We'll call it the Lil Avengers.
Lil Avengers, yeah, no, exactly, straight up.
With the Lil, not little, but Lil Avengers, and we're all like crossed armed and stuff.
Ooh, like that. Did Bohemian Rhapsody address the sexuality?
We'll call it Bohemian Rap City. Oh, I don't care.
Rhapsody, yeah, that's funny. Did they address the controversy?
Yeah, they did quite a bit.
Or they addressed the sexuality?
They did quite a bit. Yeah,
okay.
I definitely I didn't feel like your concerns were there.
I mean, they're not my concerns, but I just knew. I mean, they're not my concerns because I knew Bryan Singer was directing it and him being.
It was pretty gay.
Yeah,
it was a pretty gay movie.
But I know that was. I mean, just from the trailer, a lot of people had that suspicion. But
no, it was pretty gay, man.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, that's a gay ass movie, and I meant that in the total.
That's the best way. That's the correct way possible. Hey, and you know what though? I think this movie. Even I know it's like split with the critics, 50-50 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think once we are a little bit more removed from the controversy and once we're a little bit more removed from like everything, I think the real verdict of the movie is going to come out eventually. How it performed critically.
Well, dude, it's really interesting the critic reception compared to the audience reception.
Yeah.
Because the audience, personally, I watched it with a packed theater, and I really noticed how they were just like vibing out. They were just like, "Yeah, I love this song," and then another song came out, and they were like, "Yeah, I love this song," and I was like. Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of cool Queen songs that you like.
You think people like
a movie.
You think people like it just because of the music and not because of the...
They like it because of the music. They like it because Rami Malek is entertaining as Freddie Mercury, but not as a cohesive feature film. It's very much just like... It's like the best hits of Queen plus a few time jumps and a few fun moments. It's not really. I can see why critics are a little bit harsher on it than audiences, because were just like, yeah, this song. Oh, this is my favorite Queen song. Oh, this is my favorite Queen song. And it's like each time it's like, and then Freddie like it cuts and it's like 1976 and he writes this new song and it's like, oh, it's when he wrote that song and it's. I started to get why the audience was vibing with it and why critics were like, oh, this is just him just kind of being like, what do you think of this hit, darling? And he just starts playing in the piano. And that's kind of every time jump we get.
Wow, for that. Hey, man, whatever helps gets us Mr. Robot Season 3 quicker.
Hey, man, whatever helps Rami Malek, whatever helps weird-looking little guys make it in Hollywood, like me. It only helps me. Every time Rami gets further in his career, it's helping me.
He has Emmy. He might get an Oscar. So
if he gets an Oscar, it's even more for me, man.
You have a good case to put out there, bro.
That's right, man. That's right.
Just go around impersonating Rami Malek.
That's right. Let's get into this episode. Which
was that 3 comments? Did we have 3 comments?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, man.
That's 3 comments.
Like nothing. Why didn't nobody leave any comments, man? I thought it was Judd Apatow. Like I thought I was gonna be a funny guy. Like,
hey, man, the views were fine. They were the same as like any other episode, but the comments were just,
man,
it's I.
I'm blaming it on Twitter, man.
Hey,
I'm blaming it on Twitter. I got unleash my vengeances here.
Oh yeah, you got deleted from Twitter.
My Twitter is gone. I don't know why this happened to me.
Yeah.
Twitter is totally fine with allowing Nazis, white supremacists on their platform.
But RB3.
RB3 who speaks his mind a little too much
about movies and
movies and Movie Pass and the occasional Trump tweet every now and then.
I try not to, man. I really try not to.
Yeah,
tweet about Trump. But why was yours deleted, man?
No, they deleted it because they've realized I created my account the day before I turned 13. Mm-hmm. So like I literally created my account. My birthday is June 17th, and I created my account June 16th, 2010, like the day before I turned 13.
How did they even know you were? Oh yeah, because you have to put your date of birth.
Yeah, you have to put. So I put June. At the time, I was just like, all right, fine. I'll just put a year earlier because. Whatever. It was just I was excited to have Twitter because it was the day before and I just couldn't wait anymore. You know, I'm a fucking 12-year-old kid. What am I gonna do? So I put the year as June 17th, 1996 instead of 1997. Anyway, cut to last Tuesday. I'm looking on my Twitter account. I'm like, wow, that's really weird. Why does it say 1996? So I scroll on it, change it to 1997. Literally the second I hit done,
damn.
boom, your Twitter's deleted.
What? That's crazy.
Just instantly, just like that, bro.
And did you call
no
Twitter?
Contest,
did you
nothing.
call them?
Bro, I've been trying to call them. I've been trying to email. Nobody's responding to
really?
anything, bro.
Not even the Twitter hotline?
There's no Twitter hotline, man. They literally, they redirect you every which way if you calling for like some stupid shit like that. You know what I mean? For getting to delete it. Like,
that's crazy.
It hurts, man.
Dang, man.
It hurts. I haven't been on Twitter in a week.
That's wild, man. Oh, man. Blame it on politics, man.
Blame it on politics. I blame it on Twitter. I blame it on Kanye West. I blame it on everybody.
Kanye. Yeah, you gotta.
That's my last tweet.
Blame it on SNL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's weird, man. That really sucks. And just like that, it transitions into our political conversation about House of Cards.
Yeah.
Because House of Cards has Twitter elements into it. No, it really doesn't.
Well,
but
it
does talk about social media, and it does talk about how the media is incorporating social media and how the media has become hand in hand with social media, which
and
is
with
interesting.
politics in general.
And with politics. It's a very interesting conversation that House of Cards kind of opens up. The show, we're going to get into kind of our favorite moments, our favorite seasons, our kind of things that stand out from the show, how accurate it was related to what we see going on now. So feel free to not skip us because we're probably not going to spoil anything past season 4, probably. I don't know. There's not really anything huge to spoil in season 5.
Season 5. Well, I mean...
Well, a few things from season 5 that are interesting. But
we're not going to spoil season 6, though.
We won't spoil season 6.
Even though
100%. Even though RB3 has completely finished it. We'll give we'll start with our thoughts on season 6 and then kind of dive into how we started with the show, what got us into the show, and what kept us going on the show. So let's start right there. Let's start with what we have now. I am halfway through season 6. RB3 has finished season 6. RB3, what are your thoughts on the final season of House of Cards?
Well, let's start off with this first. You know, we got prep this
man.
with the
Give me those hot takes, bro. Hot thoughts.
We gotta get the real world context of why maybe our favorite character who we've been following the past 5 seasons no longer appears anymore. Okay. You know,
let's do it.
And you know the whole Kevin Spacey situation. I think this is probably. I mean, of course they changed movies and they reshot. What was the one with Mark Wahlberg and Ridley Scott? About
All the Money in the World.
All the Money in the World. They reshot Kevin Spacey's part, but that was only for like. What, like 5-10 minutes of like screen time or whatever?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see the movie, but I mean, I guess Christopher Plummer got an Oscar nomination off of it, or was it Oscars?
No, it was Golden Globes,
whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just so in looking at that, this is, but you know, that's just a minor change. You know, that's a side character, a big part of the movie, sure, but not the main character. You know, so I think this is the first post Me Too wave. That we first Me Too, like post Me Too piece of media, like that's fully affected by it. True. You know what I mean?
True.
So, you know, it's difficult. You know,
it opens up the question that I had a conversation with my roommate about how the issues of a creator, the issues of someone who is caught up in the Me Too controversy, someone who is accused, someone who has been found guilty, whatever it may be. What context does that have? What consequences does that have on their art or on their medium or on their show? aka Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, Louis C.K. with his show, Roseanne. I mean, Roseanne is obviously not part of the Me Too controversy, but it's interesting because it says what happens when someone gets fired from something. What are the repercussions of that, right? And we see that with the Kevin Spacey. And should the repercussions be completely getting rid of the show? Should they have canceled right then and there and just said, you know what, it's over. This show just can't go forward without Kevin Spacey. And to avoid any further controversy, we're just going to cancel the show. Or should they do what they did and say, you know what, no, we're going to allow our great cast, our great creators, and people who've put hard work and effort into this show to continue on with what they're working with and take the main character out of the show.
And they went with the second one. I think the second one is the best option to go with, too. I think that's the way you should go.
I know it's a different controversy, but do you agree with the Roseanne situation where they continued the show versus canceling Roseanne altogether? Even though she's the main freaking lead of the show, it's named after her.
Yeah, I mean, if there's still a yearning for the rest of the characters. I mean, I never watched Roseanne before.
I never did either.
So I don't know like what kind of story or arc or whatever, you know.
But do you think getting rid of the main character of a show, there's still a story to tell?
I think there is. Okay. I think particularly with House of Cards, they were in a really good spot where literally season 5 ended with her saying "my turn." So it was the perfect time to make that transition.
Leaving the presidency.
Him leaving the presidency and him seemingly get divorced. So it's actually kind of the perfect split to get into this next season. Now, I think they did the right approach. I think they had the right setup. I think this could have been a really good layup opportunity for them. I think they kind of blew it, man.
Really?
I didn't think this season really lived up to the height of House of Cards, and I'm a big House of Cards fan. You know, I love every season for one reason or another. This one just didn't fully do it for me. And again, we have to understand the controversy and the context. And, they had shot 3 full episodes with Spacey before he was gone or before he was fired. So, and all the other seasons are 13 episodes. This one's 8 episodes. But even with those 8 episodes, it still kind of feels draggy too, to a certain extent. So it's like, I don't know, I just, I wish maybe they would have taken a little more time. Maybe they would have rewritten.
What was it that didn't work? Was it Robin Wright? Was it the writing? What was it that didn't work?
To me, my biggest thing is like if you're gonna do this whole story with following Robin Wright, following Claire Underwood, like do the story about her. To me, it felt like this whole season 6 was like, oh, this is the story of Claire, but it's also the story of the legacy of Francis Underwood. And it's also, I felt like even though he was gone, his presence still dictated the entire series, the entire season. And I'm just like, and to me, I felt like it was just a wasted opportunity. I also thought some of the creative decisions were really weird. I mean, and really when I talk about the creative decisions, I mean the cinematography in particular. Like this season is really bright, lit, and it's really, to me, it feels really off. And I've seen people online kind of equate that to, since Francis is gone, so it's the darkness of the show or whatever. But I mean, this does continue to get pretty dark towards the end. But
sure,
I mean, there's just I don't know if you noticed that yourself, but for me it was noticeable from the first scene. I was like, wow, this is not the dark like noir style. Sure. Like this is really bright, really flat lit, really. I didn't know if that was like the direction they wanted to take the show, but I don't know. I just didn't. It just threw me off.
Yeah,
like immediately. But
what do you think of Robin Wright?
She's great. I mean, she's doing what she can. I feel like with the material. And she obviously elevates it, and she directs some of these episodes too. So she does a good job as a director. And her character, her acting is never going to like be off. Again, I didn't love a lot of the character decisions they made for her. But I do think, there's a lot of positives though. They had some great female empowerment messages in this in this series. They had some great they had some great feminism elements in this season that I
did
really
they work
appreciated.
though?
I thought they worked, but I think it kind of gets cheapened when it's all about like the man, the Francis Underwood, when they keep going with that whole storyline. But
sure.
But I mean, that's just my perspective as being done with it. What do you think?
So far, I do catch some of the things. I'm definitely not off So far, I'm not like, oh, this is bad, compared to other shows that I watch, aka Titans, where I'm just like, yeah, this is clearly not good. But I do feel, especially as I get later through the season, because at the beginning of the season, they're all literally trying to play catch up and give you all this information. So I'm just kind of taking in that information. But now that they're able to play a little bit more with certain storylines and story elements, that's when I feel like they start to lose it. You know what it is? I think a few elements are slightly too cartoony for me.
Yeah.
That slightly too over the top. Whereas House of Cards, what made seasons 1 through 5 so great is that it was so realistic, right? It had that slight over the topness, but at the same time, you were like, I could see this happening in a White House situation, or in Washington D.C. kind of political atmosphere. Yeah. Whereas this season felt like they kind of threw caution to the wind, and they were just like, let's have crazy fiasco stuff go down and stuff at the White, like the whole like her being depressed controversy. That episode for me was so cartoony. Yeah, when they had the picture of her like crying, and I was like, that clearly looks like you're joking. Her crying face, and I was like, why would they make a story of that? And what context was this in? They never explained the context of why she was that way. The episode before it had nothing to do with it.
Well, see, that's why I thought the show really jumped around way too much.
It really did, because episode 4 or 3 ends on like she's dealing with like some terrorist stuff, and then episode 4 begins where like Claire Underwood has not come out of her house for 5 weeks, and I was like, what? You were just dealing with terrorists, and now you're not coming out of your room for 5 weeks.
And did you watch? Are you episode 5?
Yeah. So
then they do another thing that just kind of comes out of nowhere too, right?
I don't know the other thing, but the one thing that for me did feel forced RB3, and I know that might be, me, but it is me. Was the women stuff, because for me I was like, this feels out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden she has like a cabinet all full of women, and it's like, well, huh? You just got rid of everyone like 2 minutes ago. Where'd you get these ladies from? Like that felt too cartoony to me. Like that's not how it would go down. Like it would be time would take place, but it felt like a cartoon where it's like the very next day, and then all these women come in, and I'm like, is this SpongeBob or is this House of Cards? Like it felt too forced to me.
Well, to me, I didn't mind that one all that much because the whole, like you said, the whole beginning of the episode, she does this whole thing like, oh, I'm depressed. Like, and I really was like, okay, she really has to be playing some chess here. Like, I just had faith that there was a plan,
And even she kept telling us throughout that episode, I was like, this better be a damn good plan, because even if you do succeed in your plan, it looks bad. It just like, how can people not tell you're playing a character because you're so cartoony? I don't know. It just felt so cartoony to me in that moment. And I'm gonna bring up one of my favorite shows of all time, Game of Thrones, and I know you haven't seen it, so I'm going to make a small reference to you. I had a huge issue with some decisions they made with seasons 5 through 7 based on the Sand Snakes and based on Dorne, which is obviously my house and which is what I rep. I rep Dorne.
Dorne? Is that like Gryffindor? Or?
No, Dorne is basically like the Latinos of Game of Thrones.
Ah, that's what's
like
up.
Legit. They're all like brown people.
Pedro
Pascal is Dornish, yeah. He's the Prince of Dorne, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's like the super like progressive society. It's like women rule in the country. Like in the books, it's his niece who rules the country of Dorne, or that kingdom, I guess. And they completely threw that out the window in the show, and they made it like, instead it was his son that ruled, or his nephew, Oberyn's nephew, and then they had the women kill him, and then they were like doing atrocities, and I was like, wait a minute, you just got rid of a feminist perspective to make a violent feminist perspective, and it just felt forced. It felt like, yeah, women, we do shit too, and it just, that's what it felt like to me. It felt like the women empowerment stuff really felt forced in House of Cards for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like spoil like later on in the season.
Don't spoil later on.
But
I'll
like,
kill you, bro. No.
I think to me like the more organic feminism that I felt in the beginning does kind of turn into a more like violent feminism towards the end. I'm like, oh, that's
the thing with Game of Thrones, where it's in Game of Thrones, it felt so natural. You're like, yeah, women are taking over. And then what they did with Dorne, it was like, you're just kind of a dick. I mean, it's cool that you're a woman, and it's cool but you're still a dick.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. Whereas like people like Daenerys and stuff like that were like, yeah, this is cool. They're getting power. And same with House of Cards. There's so many great moments in the first few seasons of Jackie Sharp, of other women being like in power, in control, or doing badass stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas this season, it felt like every time Claire made an excuse, it was like, because I'm tired of men. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't make the plot any better.
To me, what I always appreciate about House of Cards is just how subtle everything is, right? Like how quiet, like it's
grounded.
Like, how grounded, how like silent kind of it was to a certain extent. Like I remember like even watching the first season and like even though I love it, like I remember like not being able to like really fully stay awake through like watching it because it was just so like quiet and I had to really pay attention to it. So I ended up rewatching it and like really digging it. But it's just one of those kind of things of like you have to pay attention and you have to. Or I feel like this season was just like, here, we're gonna throw a bunch of stuff at you, and then hopefully some of it sticks. Hopefully some of these ideas don't stick, and like they just kind of go away. Like there were like at least 3 plot lines in this season that just kind of fade into nowhere. I feel like
interesting.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it probably tonight, and I'll probably tweet out my thoughts. But
text me about the ending, man.
I'll text you about the ending.
Let me after you watch it and be like, do you think this was? Because for me, this feels like a decent season finale, but not the greatest series finale.
Got it.
I wish I don't know. I know they said the show's over, but if they had the opportunity to continue the story, I would like them to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about what started it all as far as Netflix, as far as House of Cards. This, I believe, was their first original show, right?
Well,
was this
one
their
of them.
first
They
one?
had Hamlet Grove slightly before this.
But wasn't that BBC?
I think it was BBC and Netflix
okay.
co thing. But yeah, in terms of like their first major push, this was their first major push.
So Netflix has this,
and then Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black, but I still feel like that was after, like a month or two after House of Cards, I think.
I'm not sure exactly the timeline.
But I know that Netflix has this model of streaming and acquisitions, right? It's in the acquisitions business, which basically just means I'll pay you this amount of money and I have the rights to show your movie on my platform, which is what literally is taking over Hollywood nowadays is acquisitions. And that acquisitions model had made Netflix successful to that point. What pushed it over the edge was this show, was House of Cards, because it got people to subscribe to Netflix and actually pay that amount because this is the only place where you can see this original show. And then it also had that binge model, which was something that no one had ever really heard of before then, which is basically all the episodes are out and you can see as many as you want or as little as you want right away. And to be honest, RB3, that is me. It got me. I was never subscribed to Netflix before House of Cards, but then I heard of House of Cards, I saw the trailer, and then I kept seeing the ads for free 30-day trial for Netflix. And I was like, you know what? What if I just get the free 30-day trial, binge House of Cards, and then cancel afterwards? That was like literally my thought process because I was so hype on what this show seemed to me. I was like, this show seems so cool. I want to see it so bad that I'm actually going to subscribe to Netflix. And I did. And I binged it like crazy. And I kind of just stayed on Netflix because I enjoyed the show so much and it got me to stay on the platform. And that's kind of, what they're trying to do.
Right.
And
exactly what they're
I remember binging this show as if it were yesterday, and I just was digging it so much. The show really provided interesting perspective on politics, RB3. And since it is November 6th, it's funny, we're talking about a show that is notoriously sort of pessimistic on our political system and the political games.
I wouldn't say sort of pessimistic.
Very pessimistic. As far as how the politics are taken in. And a little bit of firsthand accounts because the creator, Bo Williamson, I believe is his name. Bo Williamson? Boo? I don't know. Boo, Medea's Halloween. I'm kidding. Anyways, he had... he campaigned a little bit with, and he campaigned a little bit with, what's his name, Howard Dean, back in 2004. I don't know if you remember him.
No, I don't.
You were probably like 4.
He's the guy who ran against Bush, right?
Yeah.
Second time around?
And so
your
he had
job
a little
done.
bit of firsthand perspective. And guess what? He also wrote the screenplay for Ides of March. Have you seen Ides of March?
Yeah.
So he's the writer of Ides of March.
Ryan Gosling,
George Clooney also has that little political kind of House of Cards vibe. It's because it's the same creator of the show. So
I dig that movie.
yeah, there you go. And it has that kind of vibe, right? I personally feel like it does. And he's also a theater writer. So he writes plays for theater. So he's a playwright. So it's interesting, all those kind of combinations coming into one to give us a perspective on politics and make it really entertaining, right? Where it's a game of chess that's being played, but in a very theatrical kind of way, which is what Kevin Spacey's Frank Underwood delivers. And it gives us a perspective on a couple that are kind of in it together. Where from season 1 through season 5, or from episode 1 to the finale of season 1, whatever you're watching, right? It's that journey of power. That's all it is. That's what politics is. That's what it's been since the beginning. And that's what it probably will continue to be, is trying to gain more and more power, running for a small political campaign, and to eventually trying to reach the highest level, which is the presidency. And seeing that journey through the perspective of a guy who's just obsessed over it, like Frank Underwood, is what gets people to watch the show. I don't know if it's the same for you or if how you got into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it is. And I think also just seeing a guy like Frank Underwood move chess pieces the way he does, you know what I mean? Like, I think the first season is really smart in the way that it kind of slowly shows you his method of manipulating people into, like, for one, distrusting the person next to him, and for two, trusting him. So when he backstabs them, like it just throws the whole thing off. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
That's what politics is, man.
I mean, it's insane, and I love the way that they kind of navigate and weave, like how he kind of gives up a little power to take more power later, and does all this kind of stuff. So
yeah. What's your experience when you first started watching this show?
I looked forward to it because it was David Fincher, of course, and Fincher, Fincher's
He did the first 3, right?
He did the first, I think he did the first 2, and then I think he did the first episode of season 2 or something like that. I don't know exactly how many he directed. But David Fincher, Kevin Spacey, like, how can you say no to that? You know what I mean? So it was just like, I as soon as it came out, I was in for it, and I was blown away by the style of it too, like the darkness, how it's kind of rooted in this like shadowy.
The opening credits kind of give you a vibe for what it's doing.
Yeah. The monologue with him killing the dog is like, whoa, it's crazy. So all of that was just like, it was just nuts to me, and I thought season 2 was even like, it was even heightened it even more to a certain extent. Like, not necessarily on the style sense, but on the I think season 2 is like right on the cusp of just being just too much and just being like just a little, you know what I mean? Right in between, right in that good mixture. But just in enjoying that show, and also just enjoying politics in general, it was kind of funny to see the behind the scenes, like the behind the scenes kind of stupidity behind it all. Like I like, for me, I always think whenever a politician now says, I wrote this bill, I just think of when Frank Underwood had like 8 of his staff members just locked in his office for 2 days writing the bill for him. I just now for whenever I hear politicians say that, I just think that's what they're doing. But that's because of that show, and I think the show, even though it's some heightened, it's a little heightened, is over the top melodrama. I think some of it, a lot of it is really.
I think a lot of it is, especially now, man. I mean, as we can see now, it's crazy how back in 2016 when the election was going down, people kind of were like, "Wait a minute, was House of Cards right? Was House of Cards onto something that maybe we just thought was melodramatic and over the top? It's kind of realistic. It's kind of what happens in politics nowadays, where it is just smear campaign, where it is just creating narratives, where it is just slogans, where it is just trying to tap into people's cultural preference or whatever it may be, or biases or fear mongering or whatever it is now that politicians use nowadays. House of Cards was kind of ahead of its time, where it was talking all about that while Obama was in the White House, basically. And the fact that, I mean, a lot of it is the fact that it's the power couple dynamic too, and it's also the fact that it has that kind of corporate not corporate espionage, but that corporate deal making kind of aspect towards politics, where corporations and politics and narratives and creating thoughts so that people can adapt those thoughts kind of go hand in hand, right? It's saying like, I think this kind of person would think this kind of way, so I'm going to make a bill that makes it seem like that, but in reality, I'm satisfying this corporate company, this gas company, or whatever it is that you're trying to make money with. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. So it's a very interesting perspective when it comes to all that stuff and the games that they play and the smear campaigns that they do. And the stuff that Frank and Robin Wright kind of do together is pretty crazy, to say the least. But a lot of people say, RB3, that this was kind of a reflection of
the
Clintons, Bill and Hillary, how they're masters at corruption, at playing the political game, at just saying the right things to the right crowds because they know what they want to hear, even though in reality they probably don't care.
In reality, they're selling themselves to their corporate donors.
Hey,
yes, I said it.
There you go.
Did you hear that whole thing? Did you hear?
I was gonna say I'm not a fan of Clintons here.
Nah, man, fuck them, man.
I'm not a fan of them.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that recent interview of Hillary Clinton?
Nah.
She was on an interview and I think the reporter had asked her something about Cory Booker, or she asked him a question. She had asked Hillary Clinton a question about Cory Booker, but she mistook the guy for Eric Holder, another black dude, right? So literally, Hillary Clinton's like,
"What do you think of Cory Booker's?" And you didn't comment on him, and you feel free.
Oh, I adore him.
What do you think about him saying "kicked him in the shins"? Essentially, start to get to that kind of political.
Well, that was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't. Oh, well done. You know, Hillary.
Yeah, I was paid by Mark Zuckerberg to do that.
Okay.
they all look alike. That's what she said. That's what she said. Hillary Clinton, the supposed
She was joking,
black.
man.
Nah, get the fuck out. I knew she wasn't. I knew, and I knew from the very beginning, yo.
Yeah.
And but see, that's what this show, I think, really touches on.
It does.
The underlying like corruption, no matter what kind of public face you put on it.
The persona, the facade that you put on in order to make certain types of people feel like they're being heard, when in reality they're not. It does feel that way, especially, I didn't want to name names, but you named it. I technically named it first, but when Hillary would talk to certain crowds, and she really was like, I love the blacks.
I got hot sauce in my, I keep hot sauce in my pants.
The black peoples are great. Black peoples. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I know.
You could tell, like, behind the scenes, she's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, she
like,
really don't.
She doesn't.
Her husband's been locked up. I remember during her campaign, and literally, like, the Black Lives Matter movement was protesting one of Bill Clinton's things or whatever, and because Bill Clinton wrote a bill that literally incarcerates hundreds of thousands of black men all the time, and so people were protesting him, and he I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically said, "Shut the fuck up." Like that's basically what he told him.
Well, yeah. Kind of coming back to my first question, that's what's great about the show, right? Because it shows you that. People like a lot of people, I'm not going to say people like me and you, but a lot of people know that the Clintons are masters of politics. They're just masters. They're really good at it because they're really good at selling the fact that they believe you. Right. They sell the fact that, oh, we believe in you. We're doing what we need you to do.
That was Claire when she went to the black congresswoman and was trying to get the daughter elected into the seat or whatever. It's that they didn't give a fuck about caring for the community or the politicians. Nah, they were just, Claire was just using a black member of Congress to manipulate her way into more power.
Yeah, and that's what politics is. I mean, that's generally what it is. It's playing that facade and playing that game. It's the whole persona aspect, the narrative aspect of the political game that we see nowadays. And now it's stronger than ever, RB3. Like I'm saying now, 2018, election day 2018, like that narrative aspect of politics is so strong that some of the stuff in the House of Cards is outdated as far as like bipartisanship and bipartisan bills.
Oh, man.
Like that stuff isn't even real anymore.
Well, see, I remember, and this is how you know we were just chilling too nice under Obama, man. Like when in the first season when when they had wrote that whole bill or whatever. I can't remember the education bill. And then like in the very beginning, Frank was like, "This bill is too liberal. They'll never get through Congress." Like, and he just throws it out and literally leaks this bill so the public could shame it for how liberal it is. Can you think about that? That was 2000. When did the show come out? 2010.
2012.
2012. That was 2012. 2012. A bill was too liberal.
Yep.
But now, you know, the country is so extreme and so divided that like now the left is only going to call for the furthest left thing, the right side, and I think justifiably so. I think us Peter Pandering in the middle is
really
only
you
gonna,
think this is better than what we had before?
I don't think necessarily the overall situation at the moment is better, but I think that the fact that at least the left is speaking out against corruption, against the corporate donors, against all of these things that have been binding back and has been holding back the American people for so long.
Okay.
That, you know, like if we keep like the whole centrist thing, the whole like being in the middle, that's what House of Cards is. That's essentially what it is. It's just playing, maneuvering for policies that you don't believe in.
The corporate Democrat.
Exactly. You're doing policies that you don't believe in for donors that you don't care about, so you could take their money for self-profitability, and then but you have no idea what they're doing to the American public, nor do you care. There's like a disregard for that. Whereas I feel like at least the far left and the far right at least pretend like they're against that. You know, at least the right pretends like they're against it. They're really not. You know, as we see through Trump, he's just the same kind of president that any other president would be. He just like tweets mean shit and says stupid shit too much. Excuse my language. He says stupid things too much. And then
I already cussed before.
Yeah, no, I said F. I said the F word like 100 million times. But I just realized kids might be listening to the show.
Yeah.
Oops. Too bad. Too late. But at least with the far left, with like the Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warren.
So you're saying the far left is good because they're calling out the bullshit on the left.
They're calling out the bullshit on the left.
They're calling the facade of the Democrats out.
We need to call. I think calling the facade out is how we're going to get a much better political. And the far right is pretending to call out their people too. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's clear that's not what's really happening at the moment.
Okay.
But at least on the left, so far it seems. I mean, you know, this whole new movement is kind of a new thing.
Well, it's the idea of playing the game, right? So you're saying that we should just destroy the game.
There shouldn't be a game. There shouldn't even be a game. It should just be do what's right by your voters. Do what's right by the people.
I don't know, man, because I feel like I don't think you're ever going to get rid of the game, because even if the game is done, even if you stop playing the whole like bipartisan facade bullshit, you're still going to have the extreme bullshit. I mean, it's still a game of like who can yell the loudest and who can call out people the loudest. I don't know. That's just how I see it, because I still feel like extremism doesn't help anyone. And if anything, it's just hurting people who might, you know, be put off by that kind of stuff, especially people who are disillusioned by Trump, but don't necessarily are Democratic or see themselves as left, right? I think those are the type of people that the Democratic Party should be trying to get, are the people who are kind of in centrists or are kind of like, I don't like Trump, but, you know, I don't really care for people yelling at me because I don't know, I took a K-cup from a coffee pot instead of doing the natural pot or whatever the hippie thing is to do.
Now, in terms of like social stuff, that's where I don't think the extreme thing helps. I think we do need to live somewhere in the middle of like, in terms of relations, race relations, and all that. We just kind of have to live in the middle with that. I'm talking more about like economical stuff, policy stuff, foreign affairs stuff. But I don't. Doesn't that go hand in hand, RB3? Well, I think the biggest problem.
I think it does.
Well, I think it does, and it doesn't, because I feel like I think House of Cards really points this out. Is that it's, you know, partisanship, bipartisanship, Democrat, Republican. It really doesn't matter when 99% of the country is broke. You know what I mean? If you have $10 in your pocket, you're literally in the top 50% of the wealthiest people in America. I think that's that's the problem, you know. And I think if, you know, I think the putting on the facade, putting on this whole grandeur of like, oh, we're doing really well and our economy's boosted and, you know, it's all these centrist ideas. But meanwhile, 90,000 jobs are being outsourced. Tens of thousands of people are being put in prison every day. You know, immigrants are being villainized and all this stuff. But we've forgotten the core central idea that at least the Democratic Party is supposed to represent. The Democratic Party is supposed to be the people of the working class, and yet the left politicians have kind of disregarded that. That's why jobs have been outsourced. That's why Detroit is in the worst situation in the world. That's why, and again, the Clintons are responsible for a lot of deregulation on Wall Street that led to the economic crash. So, you know, and I think that's partially why Trump won. I think Trump won because he appealed to the people who voted for he appealed to the people who are both extremists, who are white supremacists, who are racist. But he also appealed to the people who were from Detroit, from Idaho, from Wyoming, who lost all their jobs to like outsourcing and ended up and ended up being broke and off their ass. So he appealed to those people, and a lot of those people, a lot of those really poor, underprivileged people are the same people who voted for Obama twice and then ended up voting for Trump. They just want to see a different shift in the political spectrum.
Yeah,
and you know,
they saw through the bullshit of they saw Hillary.
Yeah, but I just wish they would have saw through the bullshit of Trump. Yeah. I just wish they would have seen through the buffoonery of this guy, you know. But you know,
because it's worse.
It's worse. It's worse.
Way worse.
And you know, as much as I shit on Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton,
I will gladly do both.
Yeah.
I will gladly shit on both.
Yeah, I mean, we would have been in a better situation with them in office, sure.
Yeah.
But I just don't. You know, it's always that thing of. Like, do you trust the evil you can see, that you can detect? That
the person that tells you I hate you versus the person that tells you I love you, but they really hate you.
They really hate you, yeah, and that's why
they don't care about you.
Right, and that's why I can't rock with the Clintons anymore.
And that's a lot of what the show brings to light is that kind of democratic side deals and democratic bullshitting and the facade that's being placed on the narrative structure of our political system, because it is a narrative structure, man. And what I mean by that is that it's not what you are, it's what you say you are. It's what you say you represent. It's creating a character. It's literally making up a character that people can kind of cater towards and kind of believe in. I was talking to my friend about this over the weekend, and I told him the irony, and I'm assuming we already have lost half our 20 viewers.
Oh yeah, no, they big
long
gone.
ago.
Yeah,
so whoever's still listening, sorry
about that. Also, if you're from Texas, I don't know if the results came out.
Oh, they already came out probably by now.
Oh yeah,
they should have.
Yeah, they should. Did you know Beto O'Rourke?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think so.
No, I don't know.
I doubt it, but.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
If you're from Texas, what's up, Texas?
What's up, Texas? I hope y'all made the right decision with Beto O'Rourke.
Seriously, please.
Was it 9 o'clock out there at this time? We are sitting here live in the meeting of studios here.
We're sitting live,
trying to figure out.
Texas doesn't seem to be in.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, I think it is actually. Yeah.
Don't tell me Ted Cruz.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sad day, Texas.
Took it away.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get him next time, people.
Not really, man. Not Texas, bro. Texas is. You know what's? I was thinking about it today as I was at the polls. If every brown person in Texas voted, then it'd be a different story.
Beto O'Rourke spoke fluent Spanish, right?
I don't know, but either way, it's better than what we currently have. Anyways, what was I saying? I'm sorry.
But you know, the whole thing with the.
Oh yeah, I was talking to my buddy over the weekend about this kind of narrative structure that has currently gone on, and the craziness that Trump is playing the game so hard right now that
with the immigrant.
Not just that, and I'll get to that, but it's the idea that Trump proclaims this badass macho man, gun shooting badass dude who is like pro-military, pro-gun, pro-badass, pro-God. And don't get me started on the God shit. Pro, like, Jesus-loving, God is Lord, reign supreme, Christianity all the way. And the reality is that he probably can't shoot a gun worth shit. I could probably beat the shit out of him and as much as many kids. He's a flabby,
90-year-old
weak little bitch.
Yes.
Who can probably get his ass kicked by anyone, and he's not a badass. He's not like a pro-military tough guy. No, he's not.
He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured.
He's a P word.
He would never join. He would have never.
He's a little baby.
Yeah.
He would get his ass kicked, and he doesn't even believe in God. And he literally said it in many interviews beforehand where he doesn't believe in a God. And now he's like, oh, I love the Lord. I love the Bible. Jesus is great. And it's like, you don't even believe in God. You didn't even believe in the things you're saying you are. And all this stuff you represent, your narrative that is centered around Trump, that he caters towards these kind of people. And it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It all is.
It's such, and it's not even like bullshit that's like really well done bullshit where you're like, oh, he's got a good facade. It's clear. You can just look at him and say, no, that guy can't shoot. That guy can't shoot a gun. And you clearly look at him and you're like, that guy doesn't go to church just by the way he talks. Yeah. He doesn't go to church. And the fact that he's catering towards these kind of voters kind of tells you how the game is way more important than the reality.
Yeah.
Where reality
what you put out there is the image.
The death of the age of reason, RB3, as Frank Underwood said in his final speech in season 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's 4. And that's where and that's the season
the age
where
of reason is dead.
And that's the
It's not about logic. It's not about reality. It's about what appears to be.
And
it's about appearance.
And that's when his rival Conway had the positive image. He had the guy.
He was a veteran.
He was a veteran. He cared about the community. Yeah. He was trying to do something really. I mean, at least you know, for a Republican, he looked like a decent politician. Yeah. At least the way the show wrote him. But it was but you know, but when you're going up against the mighty, the corrupt, the powerful forces of the Underwood family, it's just like it's not even an advantage. It's not, you know, and unfortunately that's the case for a lot of politicians who try and do the right thing.
It's crazy, man. I was watching a show where they were showing political ads to potential voters, and in political ads now, man. I mean, back in the day, they were pretty, you know, simple. They've all been pretty simple. But nowadays, man, all you have to say in political ads is like two or three keywords, and that's it. And then you have people that vote for you, for Republican or for Democrat. Yeah. All you have to say is brown people coming to the country, invasion, vote for me. And it's like, I'm voting for that guy. It's like, that's just anything that has to do with race, immigrants, the LGBT agenda, whatever it may be, whatever the words you want to use to get the Democrats to vote, or the words you want to use to get the Republicans to seem bad. You just say Trump or anti this or anti that, anti LGBT.
And I think what they should go for
is just simple slogans, and then you're manipulating the audience to just be like, yeah, vote. And it's like, use your head, man. Like, don't just fall for keywords.
A lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't understand the politics of it. And you know, I think that's also another thing.
I think they are they don't understand the politics of it. I just think they're understanding the keywords.
Yeah, they're understanding the fear that's being put out there.
It's crazy because there was an ad that showed this ad about I forget what, some senator or governor from some state, and they showed him, and he was talking about his mother, and he's like, yeah, my mom brought me out to this country. She was an immigrant. I'm first generation, blah, blah, blah. Working hard to be a great representative of your vote. Vote for me. My name is Robert. I don't know what his name was, but immediately...
don't use Robert, man. Use my name, please.
Whoever it was. they literally would ask, all right, what'd you guys think of that ad? And the lady was like, I don't like it. Why didn't you like it? Because what? And they were like, because he said immigrant. And I was like, immigrant's a bad word now? Immigrant? Like, not illegals, not brown people.
Aliens.
Not aliens.
That's what they call people. Aliens.
Immigrant. They just said immigrant. And she was like, I'm not voting for immigrant. That's to the point. We've gotten to the point now where all you have to do is show a brown person, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm what's happening? What's going on?
We got deep fear mongering that's rooted in that, and I think that
it's a hyper racist agenda, man.
Well, and you know, and that's where the show kind of addresses how out of nowhere, because the whole immigrant migrant crisis, the whole like caravan, that's a nothing story. It's really a nothing story, but it's the thing that pops out of nowhere. Like, I think they call it like the October surprise, right? The big news story that has to come out right before an election that sway people one way or another. You know, and that was this one for this year. And but it was built so predictably. Usually it's things like a hurricane or, you know, a shooting or something. But like, they're literally, you know, because Trump is the prompter of hate, it's a hateful thing that's being protested. Yeah. But, you know, that's also the House of Cards does have their own kind of like late surprise thing version too, with the whole terrorist situation at the end of season 5. Is that season 4? Season 4. The end of season 4, how literally Frank Underwood is on the verge of being impeached, and then he's on the verge of being impeached, but in order for him to get off, he literally lets a man's like throat get slit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
it's whatever is distracting. What news piece is distracting enough for the public to get distracted by? Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that House of Cards addresses. Let's talk about some of our favorite moments of the show. What's a moment that stands out for you as like a moment that's one of your favorite moments from House of Cards seasons 1 through 5 or 6?
Well, I never really liked the Tom character, Tom Hankersch.
Tom
Hankerschmidt.
Oh, the reporter.
The reporter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Tom Yates.
No, Tom Yates.
Okay.
No, he's dope. He's dope. He had an unfair ending. But I never really liked Tom. So when he went up to Freddie, my man Freddie, my favorite character in the show. R.I.P. to the actor who plays him. But when he went up to Freddie and was like. And this is after Freddie had like got into the whole fight with Frank, and like he got kicked off of being the gardener or whatever. He even then still, my man Freddie didn't back down, wasn't gonna snitch on Mr. Underwood, and gave Tom a 2-piece, 3-piece. You know what I mean? Knocked him out. So
that's great.
I was with that.
My favorite character on the show, and by far a character that to me transcends the show, is Doug Stamper, the GOAT. Doug Stamper, the GOAT. We were talking about it before we went on air. And I love that actor. He's so freaking good.
Michael Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that character. The idea of having a lieutenant that can basically do all the dirty work while you keep your hands clean is the coolest, most gangster mafia shit ever, bro. Yeah. It's literally like, Doug, get rid of that for me, Doug. And he's like, got it, sir. Got it. Copy. And he just does it. And he's such a gangster, man. Yeah. It's like the most like gangster mafia type shit. You know what it is, man? And I love how they actually address this type of stuff in other shows. Like in Legend of Korra, it's a lieutenant. In Daredevil, it's Wesley. You know what I'm saying? You know, remember Wesley in season 1 of Daredevil?
Which that is
Wesley is the guy with the glasses who was like his number 2.
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
No.
Oh, dude, he was so cool.
I did.
But it's the idea of having like someone in power and his number 2 being the actual like brawler. One of them is like has to stay clean and pretty, and the other one gets their hands dirty. Like, that's what I love about Doug Stamper's character, and the fact that he's so much more complex than that, and he actually has to deal with being basically a sociopath, because that's what he is. He's a sociopath, and dealing with the repercussions of working for a man who's a sociopath as well, and kind of, you know, giving him the feedback that he needs in order to fulfill himself, right? Instead of having a normal, I don't know, a wife. If he had a wife, he'd be a much more normal guy than he is now. So Doug Stamper for me is just like every season he does something badass, and he just does something crazy, and I love him for it.
He's damn near a superhero.
He damn near is a superhero, man.
Yeah, he's just really going out there doing it. I think it's always kind of crazy how short staffed, not short staffed, but how short changed Doug always is. Like,
right?
He always gets screwed over by somebody. He always gets screwed
over, man. He never he never catches a break.
Never catches a break.
I'm gonna tell you my favorite moment of the show.
Yeah.
My favorite moment is the crazy death of Rachel. The idea of like the cover-ups, and that's something that we haven't talked about yet, but the idea of political cover-ups, because it happened all the time.
Yeah.
And the idea of making stuff go away, making stories go away, making people go away from telling the truth.
Right.
And the fact that the person that is jeopardizing Frank Underwood's career and Doug's career is the same person that Doug happens to be in love with. And that scene where he like is ready to straight up kill this girl, Rachel, and he takes her, puts her in the van, and he's just having a breakdown of a humanity where he's like, I'm still a good person. I'm still human. I can't do this. I can't. And he just lets her go, only to like change his mind, turn around, and then you see the van coming in the back, and then it cuts, and then it's just him dumping the dirt. I was like, oh, shit.
That hurt.
That was, to me, was the best moment of the show. I was like, this show is amazing.
I remember that one too, like very distinctly, like standing out. That was like the last episode of season 3, right? Like
I think so.
That to me, it was like, wow, like that's heavy shit, man. Because he really like drove like away, and then it had that close up of him, and you saw like the pain in his eyes because because that was a weird relationship. It wasn't like necessarily a romantic one. No. It was like parental too, but it was still like sexual. Yeah. But Doug's just he's a bent over person, man. He's a broken dude.
The end of season 5, man. The end of season 5 when they tell him to take the fall.
Yeah.
They were like, Doug, by the way, you're gonna say all this was you, by the way. And you're gonna go to jail and they're gonna call you crazy. And he's like, cool. And I'm like, bro, what?
Hey man, he just loves the president too much. Because I remember he had that whole story where he was working with Heather Dunbar, Frank's opponent in that one season. And he literally backstabbed her to help out Francis. So
let's give some shout outs to some other characters that we love. Mahershala Ali plays Remy in this show. This was my introduction to Mahershala Ali. This was one I didn't even know who he was until I saw the show, and then I saw the show, and I remember clearly, like literally saying it to the screen and being like, "That's a really freaking good actor right there. That guy's a good actor." Sure enough, he's an Oscar winner, and he probably will win another Oscar this year again with Green Book, that's coming out later. Yeah, he's getting tons of buzz for it. He's getting like Oscar buzz for it.
Also from another Netflix show, Luke Cage.
Oh yeah, Luke Cage.
Yeah,
and that's why that season fell off too, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
You think him leaving
as soon as he left to me, I was like, man,
2 Netflix shows is
well, that's because he was probably going to get more money later on. But shout out to Mahershala Ali, another favorite character of mine.
By the way, so we're talking about Marvel and Netflix, and I didn't watch Daredevil season 3, but I will say this: I did do back about 6 months ago. I did a Samsung has this website where you could do like a hypnotizing thing where you could forget an entire season of television.
Yeah.
Or you could forget like entire TV shows.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put myself on the test. There's no better person to test than myself. I tried it. I did it with Daredevil, the first 2 seasons. So
why do you want to forget perfection?
I didn't know. For some reason, I don't know why. That was the only show I could think of at the moment. And then ever since I did it, I didn't really like fully believe that I forgot everything.
Sure.
But a few minutes ago when you reminded me, when you said like the Wesley guy, I literally had no idea what you're talking about. But as we've been talking, all the memories of Daredevil have like slowly been flooding back into my mind. So I don't know why that relates to anything we're talking about of House of Cards.
But Wesley's a badass.
But Wesley
got
cool. Did he get shot
by Karen Page?
By Karen Page. It was like a black room.
Yeah.
See, these are all just like random images that are just popping up in my head now.
That's the Lord, man.
Thank you, Samsung, for hypnizing me, and thank you for
Jesus
Ace
for bringing it back. Thank God for that, not me. It's all Jesus, man. That's Daredevil. His prayers are answered.
Who's he praying to?
Praying to God, man. He's a good Catholic boy. Have you not watched the show? You forgot it again. He's like, oh, he's a Catholic.
I forgot he lived in like a church.
What? Come on, how could you forget that? That's like a big part of his story.
Oh, that's nice, man. Hey,
come on, man.
Maybe Samsung's onto something here, man. Hey. I don't know what the link to the hypnotizing thing was. Like a light.
Who's another character that you love, man?
Who's another character I love?
That you want to give a shout out to?
Who I want to give a shout out. I mean, you already mentioned Remy. I'm just gonna mention all black characters.
Oh yeah, you already mentioned your favorite character.
Yeah, Freddie.
It's cool, Freddie.
I also really dig the computer hacker, the first guy.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
that was my first time seeing him too, and then I've seen him in other stuff now.
He's a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah,
I can't remember
he was in Black Mirror.
Yeah, he's in Black Mirror.
He was in some other shows.
He's in a big show recently.
I remember seeing him in that show too and thinking the same thing. I was like, that guy's a good actor because he was playing like a weird dude.
Yeah, he was crazy, and
he's great.
Yeah, I love how he was just driven to such to such desperate lengths, like just because he got screwed over by the Underwoods, and then he just ultimately just breaks, and then he literally like gives the guy a blowjob to like get a car or whatever, and like tries to assassinate. I think
we're thinking of different guys, but I'm with you.
Is that one?
You're thinking of the reporter? I'm thinking of the hacker.
Oh, was he not a hacker?
No, I think you're thinking of
he
two
worked for the
people.
He worked for the FBI, right? At some point.
No, you're thinking of I'm thinking of the hamster guy, the guy with the hamster, and he would always hold the hamster, and he'd be like, "Don't touch my hamster." That guy.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking the wrong guy.
Yeah, you're thinking of the wrong guy.
Maybe I'm twisting. Maybe I'm mixing the two storylines.
It's that Samsung bullshit, bro.
It's the Samsung. No, I didn't think of House of Cards. Wait. So give it to me straight here. So who?
That's the reporter who was the editor of Zoe Barnes.
Her boyfriend.
Her
ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. He was the one who was doing the car blowjob, assassinating the president.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking of the weird hacker guy who was always in his underwear with the hamster.
You're right. They are two separate characters.
Yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah,
the fact that guy,
a tall, skinny, lanky white guy.
Yeah. I mean, they both look the same.
They look similar.
Yeah. But I love the connection that the show has to technology, because I think it addresses the very real thing of the NSA spying situation.
That's right. The spying, the idea of getting into voters' heads by seeing their search histories, all that kind of stuff.
Metadata,
all that stuff is in House of Cards, and it really tackles that, which is really cool. I want to give another thoughts to Joel Kinnaman, who I think plays a great job as, I think you said his name was Conway?
Conway, yeah, Ryan Conway, I think.
So good, man.
Yeah.
I think Joel Kinnaman's a really good actor, and I really hope he gets more work. Obviously, he's just a giant white guy.
And he did RoboCop, right?
No, Altered Carbon.
Oh.
Yeah, he did Altered Carbon, and he's great in that too. I felt for that character, especially in season 5 when he gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
When he starts doing the VR military shit.
Yeah.
And when he starts doing that stuff, especially the last time when he does it in that scene, and when he kind of gets too dived into it a little too much, and his wife kind of walks in on him, I felt that scene. I felt like the little shiver in his lips and that pain in his eyes, and I was like, "Fuck, that sucks, man." Like military people go through shit. Like I really did feel that him being like a vet, I felt that, and I was like, I'd vote for him.
Yeah, PTSD.
Yeah, that PTSD. Thing. That's exactly what it was. Remember, because they had like a whole season about it, about how he was, he was a military vet, and he had to do that VR thing to kind of confront his fears, and you see the fear in his eyes of like reliving that moment, but he's still like sucked into it because he still wants to be there, and I was like, shit, man, military people deserve props. They go through some shit, bro.
It's rough, man.
It's rough. Yeah. It's rough, and I like that show kind of showed you that aspect to it. Another thing I want to talk about that we can't finish this episode without talking about is, I think it's season 4, it might be season 5. Illuminati confirmed, bro. Illuminati confirmed. Hashtag Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah. I think that was season 5.
So season 5.
Think, yeah.
What'd you think of that episode?
That was funny.
I loved it.
I thought that shit
I was like, yo, it's real. It's confirmed, bro. The Illuminati.
Yeah. Well, isn't that, and that's what ultimately motivates Frank or Francis to like not Frank or Frank. Was Frank? I guess.
Frank Francis.
I just got so used to them calling him Francis in season 6. But the fact that was like, he didn't even care about being president anymore. After discovering the secret elites that like truly like run the world, What'd
you think of that episode though, where he has his famous fourth wall break and he talks like, because at first you're like, what the hell's going on? I thought it was like a movie. Like they were watching a movie or something. But no, he takes off the friggin' hood and it's him, and I was like, oh shit. Illuminati confirmed.
That's some really weird shit. But I think it's
you think it's real?
I mean, I don't think the Illuminati is real. But I do think there are some secret societies.
You think there is a secret group of corporate power lords who have dominion over world governments?
Yes, and I think
that's the Illuminati. That's exactly what it is.
Well, I just don't think like Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Oh, okay. Except for my 2 favorite artists.
No, I just don't think any musical artist.
Okay.
I think the whole idea of the Illuminati just also became a thing to like throw successful black people under the rug for something. True. So like I don't believe in the actual Illuminati as in like Jay-Z, Kanye, Beyonce.
But you believe that
I do believe there's a secret society that like operates everything. I do believe that.
Okay. I don't know if they operate everything, but I think they operate a lot.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. But either way, that episode was actually really interesting because it's a very grounded version of what that could look like, where there are like in a retreat, they're in a farm, they're having catered meals, and it's like, yeah, this is probably what it would look like if this stuff was happening, and how they have like initiations of like Frank coming into there. Like, it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That to me was a very powerful aspect of the show. The show also gets into world affairs. What do you think of how they deal with the Russia stuff? Because I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I mean, I think they play it for jokes almost to a certain extent. Like,
You think so?
Yeah,
I
think they lean into it.
I'm like, that's Putin. He's Putin it up.
I think it's always I don't know. I think it's always funny when they have like those little like conversations underneath the stairwell, like, for everybody.
That's great.
And they're like smoking the cigarettes under there, and they're just like,
Tell me, Frank.
yeah,
Back in Mother Russia, we do it differently, Frank. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so all that stuff is just I don't know. I think
that's great stuff.
I think there's some of it that's real. Like, I think there's some aspects of that they're adapting that's similar to real life. I think there's some aspects that are like a little extreme, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the whole thing with Frank and the president of Russia making a deal, and then and then Claire saying like "shame on you" like on public TV. I don't know if that felt a little like stagey. Like, I don't think that would happen in real life.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
that was a little far fetched.
Yeah. But even though like she did see the dude hang himself, but like I just think that's a little like you know. But otherwise I think they do have a lot of I guess there are a lot of parallels, and I think the foreign interference in our government is a real thing. But I think that the show does play into the media stereotypes of it just being China and Russia, where I think there are a lot more foreign entities that are involved in our government. And the show never really addresses them. And I do wish they had a little more time to really show like, oh, these are like Indian politicians or Saudi Arabian politicians or like other politicians that like have big effects on our government that like nobody really talks about.
Well, the show tackles varying different topics. It tackles voter suppression. I know it did that back in season 5, I believe.
Right. With the phones and with the fake bomb threat being going, and that's the thing that politicians like actually use. Politicians actually do pull that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
I was just thinking of I literally just before I came here, I saw the Key and Peele Black Republican sketch. When they're driving around the van. I was like, isn't that voting booth that way? And he's like, oh no, what are you talking about? Oh, damn Republicans. Gosh darn Republicans. And they kept talking like that.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a minute, who are you guys? It's like, oh crap, disperse, and they start running away. But I was just thinking about that because the whole sketch is about voter suppression.
Yeah.
And how they do little things to get them away from the polls, literally, get people away from the polls as much as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, the show is really ahead of its time when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. To me, what it really showed me is that the narrative structure of Washington, D.C. in creating politics and creating characters that you can rally around and make a character out of them to vote for is essentially what we do in Hollywood. If you think about it, that's what we do with reality TV, first of all. That's what we do with scripted stuff, too. The fact that people who have a hand in creative, I don't know, maybe it's because I did a little bit of reality TV. I dabbled in it, and I kind of like had my eyes open of how much it's all just fake.
Fake, yeah.
It's all fake. Yeah. And how much I was literally writing stuff. Like I was literally writing stuff for work, for reality TV pitches, and I was fabricating every single little thing. And I was like, oh, this is so weird being in this position where I'm creating a narrative where I feel I'm thinking about what audiences would like and what audiences would think and who would they root for in a certain situation, and then creating conflict and what the conflict would be with different personalities. Yeah. And I was like, that's what politics is, really. You're creating characters, you're thinking about what voters would think and what would get them to physically vote for them, and what the opposition would say counter to them.
Right.
It's all just fake. It's all reality TV, and that's what politics has become. It's become reality TV, and now it's. I'm saying all this stuff as
a reality star, reality TV star is our president.
And now reality TV stars are president. Like, it's more real now than ever. Like, this stuff is not fake. It's real. Like, the idea now that a reality TV star who's just saying keywords and slogans and saying immigrants and saying all this stuff and then gets people to get riled up and then to vote or to do atrocities, in my opinion, too. Because I can't lie, man, a few days ago when he said invasion about the immigrants, I was like, bro, you're really using the word invaders and invasion as if we're vermin, as if we're pests, as if we're rats or roaches. Like, that's some deep, deep racist narrative.
Whistleblowing.
Yeah, man.
Whistleblowing.
That's like some deep stuff. And I was like, wow, like invaders and invasion is what the freaking synagogue shooter was saying when he shot up the synagogue. Like, he called immigrants, the Mexican immigrants, brown people immigrants, not the other immigrants. He called them invaders and invasion. And he said that the Jews were the cause of it. And he killed all those poor people, man.
Yeah.
Like, that, to me, that kind of fear-mongering narrative stuff that Trump is creating, and it's probably all bullshit. I don't know what the real Trump believes anymore. I mean, he probably doesn't
I don't think he believes in.
I don't think he knows what he believes in anymore.
Yeah. And
because I think at first he was like, I don't believe in any of this bullshit. Yeah. And then later on, he's like, I don't know. I don't think he knows anymore. I think he's just so far gone, so deep into his bullshit that he doesn't know anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I saw people in his ear, man. And but he taps into a lot of what he taps into what scares people, and he plays the media game too well. And I think House of Cards addresses the media game in a really like funny kind of smart way too, and very, very brutal way with Zoe Barnes.
Yeah,
right? Like,
that Zoe Barnes character in season 1 through season 2 is so good, man.
Yeah, first episode is season 2.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying like the whole like. Idea of like getting scoops and getting hot scoops, bro, from someone, a high source, and then all this stuff,
sleeping with the
enemy and all this stuff. It's like, bro, it's some really good writing.
Yeah,
in those first 2 seasons. I mean, obviously they do some other stuff with the media that's really interesting too. But that kind of stuff is cool. I mean, season 6 has the Tommy Lauren character.
Yeah.
Which is literally Tommy Lauren.
I think it's funny, but it's funny how they expose her for being like paid off by the establishment, by the Shepherd family. Yeah. How the Shepherd family is really just paying her to say stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, they have interesting perspectives on the media and how the media also plays a hand in creating narratives as well, because that's the game. That's the media game, is creating narratives.
And that's what Frank always. I mean, he was behind the links seasons 1 through 2.
Yeah.
Behind the links in season 4 or whatever it was. What was the one?
Season 5.
Season 5, yeah. Season 5 to get himself impeached or whatever.
Yeah.
He's behind all of that because he, like he said, if you could manage the downfall, or if you can control the downfall, you can manage it or whatever. He said something like that. I don't know exactly the quote, but he knows what he was doing. And
it's the smart man's game, bro. It really is. Like, the more I think about House of Cards, the more I think of like the Clintons, like the real power, really good at making deals, really good at sweet talking, really good at bullshitting, all that kind of stuff is like what I think of. I don't think of Trump. I think Trump's like in a different category. Yeah. Because I think Trump is like in that extreme level.
Well, Trump's not nearly as smart as
he's not
Frank Underwood.
And he's not nearly absolutely.
Underwood,
or even the Clintons for that matter.
I mean he's as a 5-year-old, he's not nearly as smart as a 5-year-old.
He's just really good at tapping into innate feelings that Americans may have. Where if I'm a white American living 4 generations in my farm or 4 generations in my small town, and all of a sudden I see different people that don't look like me anymore and don't speak the same language, I start feeling all weird and fuzzy inside. And then here comes this guy who says, oh yeah, those people, the reasons why you feel that way is because they're bad people.
They're taking away your jobs.
Yeah, they're taking away their
resources.
They're criminals. And
in reality, Trump is putting in policies that is really hurting the poor white people more than anybody.
And in reality, those brown people, those immigrants that look different than you, believe the same exact things you do. Yeah. They're probably hardcore Christian or hardcore Catholic, believe in hardworking good work ethic, family values. You hate them because they speak a different language than you or because they're brown. Like that to me is just crazy, and it will always be crazy to me, because that's the idea of tapping into fear mongering and tapping into identity politics in an awful sense, and it's dangerous. I think it's absolutely incredibly dangerous because I don't feel like that's the direction we should head, because the further we head in those two opposite directions, the more that we're going to get violent encounters, which is what we've been facing now, which happen to be all done by the same kind of people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not these crazy dangerous illegals that come into our country.
The Middle Easterners.
The Middle Easterners,
black,
like so far,
people.
all these mass shootings, man, I ain't seen none of them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That to me has just been so disappointing throughout this whole process. And House of Cards has been fun escapism.
yeah. It's fun to watch that show. And
it's great, man.
Kind of imagine a presidency as entertaining.
What are your last words on House of Cards?
My last words on House of Cards, I think it's a fun show. I think they tackle a lot of great things. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about like the whole water crisis that they kind of addressed in the first episode. Or in the first season, I should say.
Yeah.
Which I think is dope. I think it's dope that a show. I mean, that's kind of what like always kept me interested in the first season.
Sure.
Low key was the and I thought the imaginary policies that they always did were kind of funny. You know, like always kind of funny but kind of insightful too. Like the whole like America Works.
America
thing.
Works is the best.
Yeah.
Vote for America Works. No,
Vote for it. But that's how he said it. That's how it really goes sometimes. But yeah, no, I think I love how they play with.
I love the little things too, like picking like how you look. Robin Wright picking her dress, picking her hair color.
Yeah.
Picking like names, picking like different things aesthetically, like look cool, like that. Picking names for policies and bills, like America Works, like picking that name, making it seem like a cool thing, like that is for all people and stuff like that. Like all that is just a political game, and I love that they showed that.
And I love how the whole America's Works thing is like the one policy that like Frank kind of bullshits, but he realizes that it's actually beneficial policy, so he just runs it to the ground. It's just funny. And also, and of course, I mean, I mentioned Freddie before, but I think his whole storyline with America Works, and like his son with getting the felony and literally like pulling a gun on a reporter, I thought was pretty hard. All that stuff was just
so many great moments, man.
Great
For me, what stands out still is Doug Stamper, his GOAT moments, Joe Kinnaman, and showing the Republican side. I like season 1, Robin Wright's story arc too, when she does the nonprofit stuff. I think that's really interesting, and the idea of like a couple having the exact same goal in mind, which is basically getting as much power as possible.
Yeah.
That's what House of Cards is all about, man.
It's all about that power.
The road to power is paved with hypocrisy, based on Kevin Spacey's Frank Underwood. R.I.P.
Not R.I.P. Keep Kevin Spacey out of TVs and movies.
No, Kevin Spacey, R.I.P. Frank Underwood.
R.I.P. Frank Underwood. R.I.P. Frank
He's cool. I mean, he's only killed a few people, but he's cool.
Yeah. Not too bad.
R.I.P. Peter Russo. Hey.
Oh, Peter Russo. Yeah, I didn't talk
R.I.P.
about
Zoe
him.
Barnes.
Yo,
hey.
by the way, Peter Russo.
Corey Stoll is a beast in that role. He's so good.
He got so screwed in that show.
He's got so screwed.
He's also alcoholic, so
he was, man. He also liked too much booty, man.
Yeah.
I can't blame him though.
I can't blame him,
bro. Rachel Posner. Oh my God.
Yeah, no.
That's too much, bro.
Yeah. He can hold it back.
Yeah. Either way, guys, that concludes our conversation on House of Cards. Hopefully, you guys listened all the way through.
Yeah.
If not, oh well. Let us know in the comments down below why. I mean, I'm sure you guys.
There's gonna be a record for likes and dislikes. Like,
why don't you have like one comment?
Yeah.
Cool. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like Neil Varma.
Neil Varma.
Neil Varma or Varma?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Either way, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you guys enjoyed. Let us know what is your favorite moment, what is your favorite character in House of Cards, what's your favorite season, what's your favorite line from Frank Underwood. He has so many cool lines in that show where he just breaks the fourth wall. Very Shakespearean, very Macbeth of what he does in that show. Very Hamlet. Yeah. It's super cool. I love the originality of what this show brings and what it delivers. Even though it's actually I didn't talk about how it's based off the BBC, not BBC, but it's based off the British House of Cards.
Yeah.
But either way, I think the American version is dope.
Yeah, that gothic kind of White House like aesthetic.
Hell yeah. It's
almost
dope.
like a horror movie. Almost.
Yeah. Shout out to Netflix. Haunting of House of Cards. Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of House of Hill.
Yeah, the Haunting of the Hill.
Haunting of the Hill House of Cards.
Hey.
Haunting of the Hill House of Cards. Either way, guys, let us know what you thought down below in the comments. For the Meaning of Podcast, I am Ace.
That's RB3.
We are peacing out. Hopefully you guys voted.